Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I want to show you how to seed start celery and artichokes. These are a challenge for many gardeners. We'll go over how you get them seed started so that you can be successful. And also towards the end of the video, I'll give you a quick tour of my grow light setup. I'll show you everything that's growing. So a couple things about celery and artichokes. They take a long time to fully mature. Artichokes can take up to 180 days. Celery can take up to 120 days. They're both frost tolerant, so they don't have to go out into the ground after your frost date. They can go out early. Today's January 15th. I want mine to go out into the ground in the middle of April. So January to February to March to April, that's 10 to 12 weeks of seed starting them indoors and getting them to size. It's really, really important that you give these plants enough time to get to size in the house before you put them outside, because they just need a long period of warmth and time to grow. You're going to use the indoors as part of that 180 days, 120 days. Now, I like to start the artichokes especially, and celery, because they don't really like to be disturbed and have the roots moved around, in larger containers. I sell these at my seed shop. This is the standard size that you find. It looks something like that. If you don't want to use these larger 6-packs, use something like a yogurt cup or an 8-ounce cup, something that's larger. Put holes in the bottom, and that's what you'll seed start these plants in. Celery and artichokes seem to do better if you stratify the seeds, and that means putting them in your refrigerator for 4 to 8 weeks, letting them get a cold period, and that just helps with germination. I've done a video about that. I will put the playlist for my seed starting series for 2022 in the video description. So these have been in the refrigerator somewhere from 4 to 6 weeks, so they got nice and cold. They should germinate nicely now. So let's start with the celery. Everything has been set up as I show in my videos. This is just a basic starting mix. It's been hydrated, pressed in there nicely, a nice starting base. You can check out my other videos for that. So celery, I overseed a lot of plants. I'm going to put in 3, maybe 4 seeds into each of these, but you definitely only want to keep one plant. These get really big. They don't do as well clumped together unless you're just growing for the leafy greens. Celery is delicious. I finally figured out how to grow it over the last 2 years. Love using this in stir fries, in soups, and just eating it plain when I'm out in the garden. So we're going to take, the seeds are small, really tiny, and I'm just going to drop, it's going to be hard to, really tell, but 3 or 4 right into the center. And I'm going to do 18 of these. And the reason you want to put in 3 or 4 seeds, even though we're only keeping 1, is because if the germination rate is slow, you're better off thinning your plants than waiting for 1 seed that doesn't germinate, waiting for it to germinate basically. Now celery, the trick to this is it doesn't like to be buried, so just press it into the surface. Make sure they have good contact with the seed starting mix. Again, this is all pre-moistened. The seeds will pull in moisture. You definitely don't want to water from the top here, because you're going to move the seeds around. That's why I really always talk about bottom watering, and that's basically filling up the tray with a little bit of water, letting it absorb from the bottom. Okay, let me press all these in. You just really want to make sure these are staying on the surface. And that's your celery. Because I'm only growing 2 plants in here, celery and artichokes, and they're easy to tell apart, I'm just using 1 label on each corner. Globe artichokes, we're going to plant maybe a 1/4 inch deep. There's only 18 seeds in here, so I'm only putting 1 seed per container. And these actually come in a foil pack. Sometimes they do that to maintain the moisture in the seeds. Some seeds are harder to start. They're a good size. And again, these have been stratified for, I just don't remember, at least 4 weeks, I think closer to 6 weeks. And it's 1 seed is going right in the middle. I dropped 2 there by mistake. Sometimes they give you extra. We'll see if they truly gave us 18. And if your seeds look broken, they're not going to germinate. They should be in good shape. So we got 1 extra seed. This is the same spoon I use to mix my seed starting mix when I pour boiling water on it. I always start with a sterilized seed starting mix. You don't need soil life in here from the beginning. I would much rather just have a sterilized mix and no fungus gnats. And about 1/4 inch deep. These are large seeds. You can't really mess these up with planting depth. Now, artichokes are a beautiful plant. They look like they're from the age of dinosaurs, really, really prehistoric. If you don't eat them, I actually grow them in my perennial garden. They put out these beautiful purple flowers, which most of us haven't seen, and they look like sea anemones. They're just these real fine filaments of purple, and when the bees get in there, they move through them, and it just is like these waves of petals, but they look like they're underwater. It's really, really beautiful. And again, even though this is a bigger seed, I wouldn't water from the top. That just takes too much time. I always water from the bottom. Alright, let's put in the label. So we have artichokes and celery. So let's review. We have our celery, we have our artichokes. You want to stratify these seeds. In my opinion, that means 4 to 6 weeks, even a little bit longer in your refrigerator. Let them chill down. They're going to germinate better. Start them in larger containers because they're going to stay in these containers 10 to 12 weeks, something like this. Again, I sell these at my seed shop. If not, use like a yogurt cup or an 8-ounce cup, but just make sure you poke holes into it. You want to just press a couple celery seeds right into the center. They don't get buried. Your artichokes go down about 1/4 inch, just 1 seed per, cell, however you're doing it. The idea is it's January 15th. These are going to go out into the garden somewhere around middle of April. My soil is warming up then. It's going to be around 50 degrees, but I still have frost. These are frost tolerant. You're not aiming to get these out into the garden after the frost date. You can, but these can take frost. You're really getting them, they're 10, 12 weeks here, getting them out a couple of weeks before frost is gone in your area, because the amount of time that artichokes need somewhere between 150 and 180 days, and celery needs somewhere between 100 and 120 days. So you're using the time inside to add to this, and then you're getting them outside when the frost is there. They like the cooler weather, and then they take off when the warmth comes. Follow my seed starting series for 2022, and I'll show you how I water, feed these, and even transplant them and get them out into the garden. All right, let me give you that quick tour of everything I'm growing right now. These are the plants I have growing now. It's actually April 14th. Just did a video on using these paper cups. I'll show you how that goes over time. This is being set up. It's a little bit early for tomatoes and peppers, but this is for a video series on what you would grow for a family of 2 to 4. So I have tomatoes, eggplant, and peppers going. Some herbs. These are from Bentley Seeds. I'm testing out one of their products. Coming down here, this is my flat. This is how I keep track of what's in my cells. These are all different flowers, so they are just starting to really pop, and they're doing really well in there. I'd like to start all my perennial flowers early, get them 10, 12 weeks into grow lights. And then in here is my first wave of herbs. These have not been stratified. They're for a video series. I'll be doing herb planting using the stratified seeds, and I'm just going to see if they germinate more quickly when they're refrigerated for that 4, 6, 8 weeks. That's sage, there's mint, oregano, thyme, lavender, rosemary, and then the onions are doing really well. These are onions and leeks. They're doing exactly what I thought they would do, and they'll stay in here till about March or some point, and then I'll transition them outside. And it is time to start your sweet potatoes. I haven't done a video on that this year, probably won't, but I did do a full video on how to do this last year, and sweet potatoes seem to do better in my experience now that I've been growing them in the seed starting mix on their side versus in the water. Both ways work. I like doing it that way. Thanks so much for watching. If you're going to give celery and artichokes a try and get them stratified and really get them started 10 to 12 weeks before they would go outside. Again, thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com.